Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a little bit more details on the IS300. As I explained on one of my previous videos when we were detailing and doing all the trim, I'm going to be replacing the wipers. I'm actually going to take the wiper cowl off, replace that with a brand new wiper cowl. I'm going to replace the front and rear wipers. I'm going to sandblast and repaint or repowder coat the arms and take care of all these little fine details on the IS300. So stay tuned. So if you guys have an older IS300, you notice that this cowl gets pretty nasty and dirty and white, and then the edges here, all this rubber starts deteriorating, the arms get all nasty. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace this thing. I recently ordered a bunch of parts from Japan and I picked up one of these and the two sides here, so I'm gonna replace all of that. I'm gonna take this thing off, sandblast it nice and clean. I'm gonna see if it fits into the oven I have to powder coat it. If not, I might just do the trim paint on it after I sandblast it. I'm gonna replace these raggedy old wipers with the Aero wipers from the 2IS. On the back side here, I'm gonna end up replacing this whole wiper arm along with the wiper blade. The wiper blade on here is just gone. I think I picked up a while back a replacement wiper blade. It's not the OEM Denso one, but it's close enough and it almost looks the same. It was only like $10. I could have gotten the Denso one. The Denso one probably would have been $20. Either one, I would have the link down in the description if you guys need that one. I'm gonna replace this nut here and all the bushings and everything. That was pretty cheap from the parts I ordered from Japan. So here are the Denso wipers that I'm replacing with. It's basically a 22 for the drivers, a 20 for the passenger, and the rear one is just a Bosch 14-inch that I'm using right here. As a comparison of the Bosch and the OEM Denso, I've got the 16-inch is for my Sienna, the rear of my Sienna. You can see it's essentially the same size and the same design, and the color and texture is almost the same as the OEM one. I picked up this one because it was only like $10. I could have gotten the Denso one, it was like $20 or $22. But if you guys need any of these, just check out the links down in the description. One of the reasons why I like these Denso OEM wipers is you actually buy the rubber as a refill at the dealer. It's like 30% of the price of a new wiper blade. And if your plastic is still good and you take care of it, you can just replace those probably 3 or 4 times before you need to replace the whole blade. The whole blade itself is not really that expensive. If you check out my links down in the description, I believe the 500 millimeter one, which is a 20-inch, it's only like $18 for that one. The 22-inch is not as common. This is the 550 millimeter, and this one is a little bit more expensive. It might be $25 to $28, but as a complete set, this is comparable to any of the Aero wipers out there in the aftermarket, but it actually has the support of replacing the inserts when you need to. One of the things you'll notice is on the ends here, there's actually a 550 millimeter and a 500 millimeter. That's how you know which of the refills you can use. All right, over here I've got the cowl and the 2 rubber pieces on the side right here. As I said, I had ordered this with a bunch of other stuff I had ordered from Japan, and this thing was like $100. These things were like $10 or $12 each on the side. If you get them from a US dealer, this thing's like $200, and I think this thing is $20 each right here. But since I was already ordering a bunch of stuff from Japan, it wasn't much more for the shipping, even though this is a huge part. I got the wiper arm right here for the rear, and then I got 2 washers that go on there, a rubber one and then the metal one to replace the one that's on the car now that's probably deteriorated. So I went ahead and picked those up. They were pretty cheap. This thing was probably like $10, and those were like $1 or $2 each. You could pick these up from the dealer also. Later, I'll show you guys what it looks like back there. And you can also probably take the old one apart, just sand it down and hit it with some trim paint and get it just as good. But I just wanted these new parts since I'm already ordering everything and doing everything new. One of the things that's good with the cowl is it comes with a new rubber piece here too, so you can replace your old weathered one on the car already. One of the things I noticed about this end pieces, instead of like a thin rubber or plastic, it's actually a high density foam on the end there. So that's why that thing doesn't look as bad as it has for 20 years, but this is pretty cool right here. I was expecting it to be like a thin plastic like they use on the newer ones that deteriorates like crazy. Remove the cowl, it's pretty easy. It's mostly just clips right under this rubber thing. There's a bunch of little clips down there, and to take the wipers off, there's a little cap on both of them and like a 12 millimeter under there. So you want to just pop that cap off, take the 12 millimeter off, and then just pop this thing off. Just drop your hood down when you do that, and then once you do that, then you can pop these clips right here and then just take the whole cowl out. So it looks like I was mistaken about that nut on there. It's actually a 14 millimeter. So just remember that it's a 14 millimeter to take off the wiper. That was pretty easy to take off. Most of it was these little clips up front here that you could just pop with a little flathead screwdriver, and then they got two little round clips on either end right there and then on the other side, and it comes right out. This is probably a good time to get the vacuum out, clean up all this stuff, maybe get some cleaner and wipe all this stuff out because it's probably hasn't been cleaned for like 20 years. One of the things I noticed when I was in here, there was like a plug right here that had a actually cap on it, and it appears this is where they had the option for the defroster for the windshield. So usually a lot of these Lexus cars usually come pre-wired with different options that may or may not be part of the car, but that's definitely one that's for the windshield defroster. This cowl of mine that I just took off is definitely salvageable if you wanted to put in the work. If I hadn't already ordered that one, I would have definitely spent the time to actually clean this thing up and refurb it. I might just still do that and sell it to someone locally here if they need it in Orlando. But it's a pretty easy process. I might show that on a separate video just for the hell of it. So snapping that cowl in was pretty easy. You just gotta line it up. There's actually a little peg right here in the center that gets you in the center. Once you do that, the hardest part was tucking the lip right there onto the windshield. Other than that, everything else just snaps into the front and you get that in, and then you put those two clips on the side in. Once you do that, you could do the rubber pieces up on the corner. So those things, you just kind of wedge it in there, wedge it into the actual cowl, and then tuck it onto the fender itself. Alright, the next step we're going to be doing is powder coating. As you guys can see, I've got my powder coating oven, which is a big toaster oven I got that I was going to do my brakes with. So I just hung those things from there. Make sure they're not touching right now. So what I'm going to do is bake them for 20 minutes right now just to off gas, get all the oils and dirt off of them. And once I do that, I'm going to take it out. Once I let it cool down, I can start the powder coating. If you guys haven't seen my DIY powder coating video, go check that out. I'll have a link down in the description and up at the top right now. I got it set up in my little powder coating rig here. The reason why I have it here is so I can put my little dust collector on the outside and I could suck in all the unused powder and it doesn't get everywhere. But this works pretty good to contain all the powder in here. I've got my powder loaded in the gun. I'm gonna hook up some air. It needs about 9 PSI, so I've got that probably set on here already. And then I've got everything connected on my Eastwood here. I'm gonna run with the low voltage for now. Usually you run the high voltage if you're not sticking well, but I'm gonna try to start with the low voltage. And then you got the little switch, I gotta pick that up to shoot with. So I'm gonna go ahead and get in there and keep you guys on the tripod and a time lapse. I think I got the coverage as good as I can. I got all the spots I could where it was looking white. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven for 20 minutes to make sure it gets up to 400 degrees. Once it gets to 400 degrees, we can go ahead and stick this in for 20 minutes. We wanna make sure we have an IR gun, measure the temperature, and make sure the temperature is correct. Got it in here now, nothing touched. Got everything nice and spaced in there. We're gonna wait 20 minutes. Let this thing flow out, and it'll be done. Nice and black and shiny once we're finished. That's about 5 or 7 minutes in, and we're starting to see the gloss flow out of this thing. Looks good so far. Fresh out the oven. It's dried down. I just gotta let it cool down for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then we can start handling this. So the back wiper is easy to replace. This cap right here just pops right off. Pretty easy right here, just simple pull off. You've got this 10mm to unbolt, and then you can pull the whole thing off, replace the washers back here, put the new one on, and we're good. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Looks like we ended up getting this thing rusted on. To bust out the big gun. So this thing right here is a specially designed tool to pull wiper arms out when they're rusted. I got this on Amazon. It was like $8 or $9. If you guys need one of these or you have this issue, check out the links down in the description for it. Bam, got it off. Ooh, ooh. That was 20 years worth of grime and rust and all that on there that kept that on, but I had to put some gloves on to turn it with some muscle to get that thing off. So the two replacement things I got was this washer on the outside and that little rubber that I just took off. I'm gonna reuse this nut right here, so I'm gonna have to take that off to take this washer off. Those are both really optional items to replace. Rubber on mine is still good. It looks like nothing's deteriorated or anything, but I just chose to get new ones because they're only like $1 or $2. So if you guys saw my detailing video, I was buffing back here and I burned the paint down to the old paint because it was so thin here. So I ended up picking up a new emblem. This is off one of the newer HXs or NXs and the ESs and some of the other newer Lexuses that has a solid black emblem. I think this comes with like some pegs on the back. I'm gonna have to cut those things off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just put it where the imprint of the old emblem is and just stick it onto here with the 3M tape. Ooh, that emblem looks nice, along with this new rear wiper. It's all about the little details, guys. One of the things I noticed about the emblem is that it's actually got 2 layers of tape on there because there's a thin layer for the outside piece, and it mounts to basically the back mount, and then the back mount has tape that goes to the car. I think they raised this because some of the newer cars, they actually have it where this thing is actually recessed into the trunk area. They had to raise it to fill that gap up a little bit, but it looks good from the back. Looks pretty cool on the Sportcross. Hey guys, thanks for joining me all the way to the end of this video on doing the wiper upgrade, doing the powder coating, and getting that all put on the car. As you can see, it's a lot of tedious work, but it's all the little details that make the difference when you're working on a project car or doing any of this stuff. If you guys found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel to stay on top of all my different DIY projects, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up. Remember guys, for all these different projects, whether it's on the car, on the house, in the garage, or whatever you're doing, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.